Good evening and welcome into Tennessee Volunteers live on the Voice of College Football Network. Tucker Harlan and Jordan Binkley with you on this Monday evening. Glad to have you all with us. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football on YouTube. Helps you guys get close to all the great football content you enjoy. Really helps us out a lot as well. And one more promotional matter I should mention as we get into the show. We do have merch. We do want to make it known that we have merch. You can go to vocfb.com. There is a tab that says shop on there, and you can click on it and then scroll through all the Tennessee stuff we have. We have hats, we got shirts. I believe we have some sweatpants. I know we have polos. We got a koozie, a coffee mug, or two coffee mugs, I should say. You've got the black interior and the orange interior, depending on what kind of preference you have for the coffee mugs that you drink out of. And then we got tumblers as well. So check all that out. I'll post the link in the chat. But we have just entered the bye week, which is crazy to think about. We're already almost halfway through the season, Jordan. How has it gone by this fast?
Man, it seems like it's like this every year. It's like you wait for college football season to come around, and then you finally get excited, and then the games just fly by so quick, man. And then before you know it, you're just looking forward to next season once again. So hopefully it slows down a little bit because I don't like the fact that Tennessee is about to have their sixth game of the season, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about to be the sixth game of the year.
Halfway through regular season. It needs to slow down.
Absolutely, man. It's this is our last show of September on this channel, which is another crazy thought. How are we already to October? But it's coming up. The countdown to Halloween is on. So now we're of course a little ways away from the next game against Arkansas, which we will talk about a little bit tonight, as there is some pretty important news that has broken out there in Fayetteville over the last 36 hours, I guess we could say. But I do want to talk a little bit about this game that Tennessee won in Starkville 41-34 in overtime against Mississippi State down there in Davis-Wade Stadium. And this had the makings of all the funky Josh Heupel road losses. Lots of odd mistakes throughout the game, a few turnovers. The penalties really weren't that big of a problem, but you had a lot of drop passes that led to funky turnovers, some of them. So a lot of things that just did not go Tennessee's way in this game, most of which is self-inflicted, but ultimately you got through and you still won the game, which is the important thing. Some coaching errors mixed in there as well, but winning fixes everything, I think, is the key takeaway from this game, Jordan.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's easy to get upset when you're watching the game at first. Especially I was thinking Tennessee was going to win by more. I think my prediction was 45-24 that I had going into the game. And of course, there was times where I was upset. Tennessee was giving up a lot of rushing plays, and there was the whole clock management situation towards the end of the game. But sometimes you just got to look at the bigger picture, and it was an SEC opponent on the road, which is never going to be easy. So I think Tennessee ultimately got a good win during the game, and Mississippi State was undefeated to start off. So since the game, since times went on during the game, I'm less upset about some of the things that I saw, but there definitely are some things Tennessee needs to correct moving forward.
Yeah, I think now that we've had time to sleep on it, we're a little less unhappy about the results or some of the decisions, I should say, that were made, even though Tennessee won the game. Again, winning fixes everything, which is why we're not taking this with as sad of a tone right now. A lot of Tennessee fans at the game. The whiteout that they had planned looked more like a divide between the stadium, like half white, half orange, pretty much is what it looked like. And that's not an exaggeration. That's an undefeated team that Tennessee played on the road, and you essentially had one half of the stadium that looked totally orange in that game, which is just It's wild, man. Really wild. And somebody tweeted it earlier today, I think, but I think the reality now is and part of it is, West Tennesseans are much closer to Mississippi State, Ole Miss, even Alabama, some of them than Tennessee, just in terms of proximity. But also, it's a cheaper ticket than it is
Yes.
in Tennessee right now. Like, think about the damage Tennessee fans will do to Kentucky here in about a month. I myself am thinking about going up to that game just because more of a personal reason than anything. But I I just can't imagine Kentucky having too big of a crowd, just the way that season is progressing, and you could see that happen more and more this season. Florida, if Billy Napier is out there, I think some Tennessee fans would make the trip happily down to Florida.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned about like the games being cheaper and stuff because I was actually talking about this with my girlfriend recently. It's like Tennessee tickets are extremely expensive now, and I'm like, I was talking to her, I was like, it might honestly be cheaper to go to the Tennessee Alabama game in Tuscaloosa than it would be in Knoxville if the game was taking place in Neyland this year. But yeah, I mean, I like going to road games too. I mean, I got to go to Tuscaloosa for the first time a couple of years back, and I went before that. I went to a Wisconsin Michigan game. It's fun seeing other schools' atmospheres. One day I plan on seeing all the SEC teams, but I got quite a bit to go right now.
Yeah, oh yeah, but you can do that here pretty soon. There's a will and a way to do that. Um, Obviously, we need a little bit more money. That would obviously help us out. But
Yeah.
you could do that with the way the SEC scheduling model is going to play out. So you're going to see everybody play everybody here in the next 4 years everywhere, which is fun. And we'll get to that a bit later. But very exciting times ahead for the league. But looking at the game itself, just some key takeaways that I had offensively. You don't run the ball super effectively in this game. 131 yards. Um, I think that is probably just not wanting to run the ball as much as it is just not having success. Like I didn't see very many plays in which Mississippi State was bottling Tennessee up. I think they finished with 4 TFLs, 2 of which were sacks. Um, and Deshaun Bishop was your most productive running back in this game. And I get it. The data gets skewed a little bit with that touchdown run there at the end, but you take that out, he's still going just a hair below 5 yards per carry in that game, which is everything you want, especially when you're looking at 1st and 10, just trying to get a drive started. Not as productive of a game for Starr, but he did have a couple nice runs mixed in there. So overall, I don't know what exactly happened there. Was hoping Tennessee would utilize it a little bit more. And then looking at the passing attack, Joey Aguilar just couldn't get in a rhythm. It didn't feel like in the game, even though he finished with 335 pass yards. There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't know what exactly happened. I think it's game flow related because I saw somebody, I think it was Brooks Austin, put out one of his film studies earlier today and was just like, Joey Aguilar's misses are a concern for SEC matchups down the road. And while I don't disagree with that, I think game flow impacted his rhythm and getting in a groove a lot more than I think some of us realize.
Well, I mean, it felt like Tennessee was throwing the football more throughout the game. I mean, I'm seeing right here that Aguilar had 40 passing attempts. I mean, I think that, I mean, my theory was with the game that, I mean, I think Tennessee thought that Mississippi State would prepare for the trying to stop the run a lot more. So I think Tennessee did come out passing more than they initially would. But I mean, Aguilar's stats like weren't too great for in terms of like completion percentage and everything like that. But I feel like he did what he needed to win the game. I mean, it's going to be tough playing SEC teams on the road. And I mean, I think that he looked comfortable for the most part. I mean, especially on that last drive, I thought that he played spectacularly well. I think he went for 6 for 6 passing on that drive. So, I mean, but the running game, I mean, I was upset with it at first because I like seeing Tennessee control the run game more and to put more yards on there, because I think a lot of the times you win a lot of football games by out rushing other opponents. But I mean, I think Tennessee had their game plan together, and I think they planned on passing more. And like the drops, which you mentioned earlier, are a little bit of an issue, and I would be concerned about that going into more of the SEC games. But I mean, as far as what I've seen from Joey Aguilar, I'm not too concerned. There's just a couple overthrown passes that I wish that he would get back, and I noticed that it tended to be on the screen passes more than anything. But I mean, we talked about it on the post game show. Those like 2 interceptions that he had were not his fault at all. I mean, they were bounced sky high up in the air. I mean, either of us could have caught that interception if we were on the field.
Yeah.
So I mean, sometimes things just like that happen.
Yeah, I think you're right, but at the same time, he floated the ball a little too high for Kitzelman. Those are just unlucky situations, though. Still, for Joey Aguilar, you can't say that's entirely on him. Just a lot of bad luck with some of these throws is the unfortunate part for him. But the only other thought I have on the offense is I thought the line did a pretty good job, all things considered. I was tracking, like I said during the post game show, what kind of pre-snap penalties you would get. No offsides penalties for the defense. Offensively, you finished with 2 false starts. You had one on David Sanders when he first got into the game when Jesse Perry left. Still no update on him, by the way. And I forget where the other one was. It was sometime in the first quarter, but still, that's a little bit better than I thought. And then overall, you kept the pocket pretty clean. They gave up a couple sacks, which is the first time they've given some up that are not a grounding penalty or a botched exchange or in garbage time. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen, unfortunately. Even though there are some offensive lines, like say LSU last year, who did not give up sacks at all, aside from one game. But overall, I think this unit did a pretty good job this weekend too.
Yeah, I mean, they've been pretty impressive the entire season. Like I've been tracking their stats because I've been so impressed. And let me pull them up right here. I know during the game, Tennessee only allowed 4 tackles for a loss, which technically is the most that they've had during the season. But I mean, it was their worst performance technically, if you're checking the box score for the offensive line. But I mean, they've still played outstanding this season.
If that's the worst you've got, though, that's not that bad.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, because there's been, I mean, especially last season, Tennessee's offensive line seemed to be a big issue. But I mean, so far this season, I mean, I would make the argument that Tennessee's offensive line might be the strongest group, or at least offensively, that this team has, as long as they can stay healthy, of course. I mean, we're still waiting to hear, like you mentioned, with everything with Jesse Perry. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery, but I'm excited to see what David Sanders can put together too, because we've only gotten to see him play in a handful of snaps, and it was from this last game. So, I mean, I assume the sky's the limit for him. And then everything in the offseason, I mean, Josh Heupel spoke highly about him in some quotes that I've seen. So I'm really excited to see how he ends up doing, especially how well the offensive line's played so far.
Yeah, so my level of excitement's very high for David Sanders. He came out and did his job for the most part at the end of the game, which is all you can ask of a guy who hasn't played any college football yet in that situation. Moving over to the defensive end, the more I think about it, Jordan, the more impressed I am by the result. And it may not show up necessarily, at least statistically speaking, but you have to consider the fact that 3 of the touchdowns that Mississippi State scored in this game were sub 26-yard drives that began there because of turnovers. Not excusing what happened, but it's harder to stop a team going 20 yards down the field than 75. Let's just be honest. And then you look at what they did in the backfield, just wreaking havoc in that game. I believe it was Don Bailey who got a pressure that caused the Colton Hood pick, a little bit indirectly. There was a tip there, but he obviously brought the heat on that play and helped out quite a bit. Tyree West is your co-defensive lineman for a week for a reason in the SEC. He had 2 sacks in the game. he had one coming from both sides of the line, actually. Had one in the first half, and then he had the strip sack fumble recovery for Josh Josephs, who also had a tremendous game for Tennessee. Aside from the play where he body slammed Devon Booth or whoever that was in it running back from Mississippi State. But those guys did pretty well. I think someone said it, like 3 down linemen is a recipe for disaster for Tennessee in the run game. And Tennessee did get beat a couple times on the ground, mainly on plays that were going outside the pocket. Fluff getting out there. A lot of arm tackles in this game from guys. T-Lander, it showed up a couple times. Going back and watching the highlights, Don Bailey was just beat on a couple plays. Jalen McMurray had one too, I know. So Fluff's just a tough guy to bring down at 5'10", 230. That's a short dude that's built like a bowling ball who's hard to bring down, low center of gravity. So hard on those guys, but no, they end up having a nice day. Arion Carter, 17 tackles. He's your defensive player of the week in the SEC this week. So well-deserved honor for him for doing all that on the defensive end for Tennessee. And then you look at the secondary too. They had their assortment of nice plays. You look at the play before the interception from Colton Hood. Boo Carter delivers a big hit that maybe if they go back and review it, they could have overturned it and said catch and fumble. Looking back at the replay, I didn't think there was enough, but maybe they could have. But obviously it's a play that kind of gets lost just because of the play that happened right after it. Was it perfect? No, but I don't think this defense is far away from being a really solid unit again, especially with some of the news that some of these guys are going to be back within the next couple of weeks that have been injured.
Yeah, I mean, I think the defense has been showing great signs of progression. I mean, we thought Tennessee's defense is going to be one of the best ones in the SEC going into the year, and then we were pleasantly surprised with how well the offense has been playing. But I mean, I think the Mississippi State game, I mean, even though Tennessee gave up 34 points, I mean, you mentioned most of them, they weren't having to go all the way down the field to score those touchdowns. But I mean, regardless of giving up those points, I mean, I'd argue this is maybe Tennessee's best defensive performance of the season. I mean, they got 11 tackles for a loss. They got 5 sacks, 4 pass deflections. And every time, I mean, especially from the defensive line, I mean, they were flying around during that game. I mean, they were giving that offensive line fits for Mississippi State. I mean, a lot of times they were creating pressure. And even outside of the defensive line, I mean, a lot of times when the plays would go outside, Tennessee was flying to the football. And then there was that nice touchdown by Colton Hood, too, his second defensive touchdown of the season. I mean, I think Tennessee is starting to step up and starting to make strides. And I mean, like you said, I mean, once some of these players come back from injury, Tennessee might end up having even better defense than they already have. I mean, Jermon McCoy coming back. I mean, I think he's possibly coming back for the Arkansas game.
It looks like it.
Which could be a good situation for him, to be honest. I mean, considering everything that's been going on with Arkansas, I mean, losing Sam Pittman and everything, it could be a good game to help get his feet wet and help him get adjusted where there wouldn't be as much pressure, or at least you wouldn't hope. I mean, of course, a catastrophe could happen in the game, but I find it highly unlikely. I think Tennessee handles Arkansas pretty well, but yeah, it'd be nice to get Jermon McCoy back out there, get some reps, make sure he stays healthy. And then when we go down to some of these stronger SEC opponents, I mean, some of these corners have already stepped up this season with Redmond and then Hood and everything. So, I mean, it could be really fun when McCoy comes back, and especially once all the defensive line gets healthy as well.
So statistically speaking, Tennessee gave up 378 yards of defense in that game. That is 1 more yard than against Syracuse, which it was an okay game for Tennessee. I think we can all agree there. But you do have an offensive touch or a defensive touchdown that you scored, so you're doing other things to help yourself out. And you know how much they gave up to UAB on total? 394 yards.
Okay.
So they did better against, and I get it too. Obviously, you got backups in, but you did better in that game than you did against UAB. I, I I don't know how much that says, but it's something. It's something to consider. It didn't look like UAB was not as concentrated on the ground. I don't think.
No.
No, they weren't at all. I
No.
shouldn't say that. But they were still able to throw the ball on you a lot. Meanwhile, Mississippi State only threw for 180 in the game. Obviously, Fluff Bothwell had a very nice game on the ground, but you did a lot of other good things in the game too, and I think that's something you can be proud of. All right, one more thing I've got is special teams related. Just keep Boo as your punt returner from now on, okay? I don't see any reason to flip back to Braylon Staley or even Dewan Morris at this point. I know Dewan Morris is hurt, but Boo's your best at returning punts without a doubt. And you can trust him way more to do it than a guy like Staley or just anybody else on this roster in general.
Well, I feel like special teams is something that we haven't talked enough about because honestly, when I was watching that Mississippi State game, I mean, they were doing quite well on special teams. They had that fake punt. I mean, I'm forgetting a couple of other things that they did during the game. I know they made a few field goals, but I mean, like special teams is one thing that the most people don't focus on too much, but I mean, it can win you ball games as well. I mean, oh, and another thing Mississippi State did, like downing the punt down at the 1 and recovering the other muffed punt too. I mean, like things like that can change a football game. Thankfully, it didn't for Tennessee. Tennessee ended up winning, but yeah, special teams. I mean, Tennessee. I mean, Max Gilbert's struggled a little bit. I mean, since after the Georgia game, Boo Carter not being back there as the full-time returner. I mean, I think getting Boo Carter, like you said, putting him back in the return game can really change some things up for Tennessee, especially for field position too. And Tennessee's good at scoring in the red zone as well. I mean, Tennessee gets past the 50-yard line, there's a good chance that they're going to be scoring, and Boo Carter can help get you there. So I would like to see a little bit more from the special teams for Tennessee, but I'm seeing improvements for the most part in the team, like we said with defense and everything. But yeah.
Randy wants to know what we thought about the offensive pass interference. It was a terrible call.
Yeah.
David Smith's crew does not understand what pass interference is. I tweeted something earlier today. That wasn't even the worst called pass interference in the game. The one on Colton Hood was significantly worse than that because at least Brazel made some contact with the DB. Colton Hood, it was the slightest of tugs, if any. And not only that, neither of the officials that threw those flags, I don't know if it was the same guy or what, but neither was in a position to throw those flags because they didn't have a good vantage point of it at all. So how we continue to let an Alabama quarterback officiate SEC football games is something that is beyond me. But I guess we're just going to keep doing it. And it's not just a Tennessee thing, man. He's done it in these games before, big games before. I think there was an Egg Bowl 3 years ago. I'd have to go back and look to see what exactly it was that they botched. But I remember them botching it because it was Leach's last Egg Bowl. And there was a fumble in that game that wasn't actually, or no, they called it an incomplete pass on the field. Then they reviewed it after the guy had recovered the fumble, which is something you can't do with an inadvertent whistle. And realizing they messed up, they broke more officiating protocol to undo the call to give Mississippi State the first down because of it. So if that sounds like a mess, it's because it is. His crews are consistently the worst in the SEC. Hopefully we don't see him again for a very long time. But that's all I have on the game. I know we already kind of mentioned coaching things, and we'll get to that later as well, because I think we both have some thoughts about the bye week or just about the first 5 weeks of the season that we'd like to get out at the end of the show. But there were other games that happened this weekend that we need to discuss on the schedule. A lot of bye weeks this week, actually. Florida, Oklahoma. Who else was on bye? I'm not remembering exactly who. Some of the teams at Tennessee are playing. They played each other this past weekend. Looking at the schedule, Duke beat Syracuse 38-3 in the JMA Wireless Dome. Poor Syracuse, man. No Steve Angeli is really going to hurt them. So I'm afraid that loss or win is not going to age well for Tennessee with the loss of Steve Angeli, which is a real shame because I think he is a solid quarterback. Moving on down here, Mercer beat ETSU 38-34. Alabama defeated Georgia 24-21. And this is one, I'll admit, I was completely wrong about this game. Kalen DeBoer has a habit of doing this. They win games that are against some of the very best teams in the country, and then they'll play somebody who is obviously inferior the next week, and they'll lose by multiple scores. I don't know what that's all about, but they keep doing it. But they won this week. They never trailed in the game. They led by as much as 10 at points. And Georgia, I'll tell you what, Georgia's living dangerously. It's like Tennessee back in 2016 with Butch Jones, where you're down 14 plus points in like 4 different games. Tennessee was lucky to win all those games, by the way, that they did in 2016, because eventually you saw where you had games against Texas A&M, Alabama, South Carolina, all back to back, where your luck runs out. So that's something that they're going to have to fix down there in Georgia. You got to start quicker because obviously it's about how you finish, but if you start slow, you can get yourself in trouble just as easily. Ty Simpson looked very, very good in that game for Alabama. Statistically speaking, he's been good all year. He just had the one game against Florida State where he made a few not so great decisions as that game wore on. And Georgia, man, they were just plagued. They had a drop that would have resulted in a go-ahead touchdown in that game. And in the final, I think 5 minutes, they had a guy streaking wide open down the field and just totally dropped the ball in front of the end zone. Happened to be wearing number 11 too, which is what Arian Smith, the Lord of the Drops last year for Georgia was wearing a season ago. So maybe Bama's better than we think. I don't know. I would not be surprised if they dropped one to Vandy or Mizzou, though, in the 2 weeks before they play Tennessee.
Well, I almost wonder if it's just a mental block with Georgia. I mean, because I was looking up during the game, Georgia's 1-6, or Kirby Smart, I should say, is 1-6 against Alabama going into that game, and now he's 1-7. I mean, I've argued before. I mean, how many times have we talked about Tennessee having a better team than Florida and not being able to get the job done? I mean, I feel like sometimes there's just some voodoo hanging over your head that makes it hard to get things done. And I feel like Nick Saban may have left a bad taste in Kirby Smart's mouth, and it's just been hard, regardless of Nick Saban being there or not, hard for Georgia to win games. Which, I mean, to be fair, I mean, that's how Tennessee and Georgia's been recently. Georgia's been the one team that Tennessee's routinely not been able to get past this season. So, I mean, I almost wonder if there's just a mental block there for Kirby Smart. And then you talked about Ty Simpson too. I remember a couple weeks ago on podcast, we were talking about these NFL scouts not being able to like properly evaluate some of these quarterbacks and stuff. And one thing that I've noticed from Ty Simpson, I mean, he makes some pretty good throws. I mean, he can zip it in there. But what's another thing, another common denominator with him is that he's been playing college football for a long time. We see Bo Nix now in the NFL like doing well, or I haven't really kept up with him much this season, but last season did pretty well, and he was in college forever. So got to be wary of some of these quarterbacks that have been sitting around for a while. I mean, and look at Aguilar too, and all of. I mean, he had a lot of experience coming into Tennessee. So I don't think I think experience is very important, and there should be some more emphasis on it instead of just looking at some of these certain things like strong arms or fast legs.
Yeah, did not have Georgia losing a game at home this year, but here we are. And they play a couple tough games at home too, not just that one. So keep your eyes on that as we go down the road. Going to get to this Arkansas game later because we need to have a little bit of a lengthy discussion about it. They lost 56-13 to Notre Dame, but we'll come back to that in a second. South Carolina 35, Kentucky 13. Kentucky's not good. I think we all know that. But South Carolina, I got to say, man, they're living dangerously. I don't trust that offense still. Do you know how many? And I get it. Tennessee did it this week. They had multiple defensive touchdowns in the game. So you can say, who am I to judge? But at the same time, we've seen this in multiple games from South Carolina, not just the one. So 2 touchdowns for that South Carolina defense in this game, which is pretty wild that they keep doing this. But I think we're all in agreement that Kentucky is not going to be looking too good the rest of the way. Other games on the schedule here, New Mexico beat New Mexico State 38-20. Vandy beat Utah State 55-35. That game was close at halftime, but then Vandy really pulled away in the second half. So the Doors and the Tide will have College Game Day in Tuscaloosa. Imagine saying that to somebody 5 years ago, man. Just a completely different college football world we're living in. Bonus round for you, Northwestern 17, UCLA 14. Nico is now 0-4 out there. They, again, stat padding for Nico. He was in a 17-3 hole, or at least I think it was 17-0. I forget what exactly the score was. They were down double digits at one point. That game was going on while Tennessee was playing. And by the way, since it is a bye week, you can catch their game at home against Penn State on CBS at 3:30. So you can see an absolute beatdown against what will be a very angry Penn State team this week. So enjoy that while you can. And then final bonus round score that I have for you, ULM 28, Arkansas State 16. Butch Jones is now 1-4 this season at Arkansas State, if I'm not mistaken. So may have just played his way out of any other Power 4 jobs. So speaking of Power 4 jobs and the state of Arkansas, we do need to discuss this a little bit because it's probably the biggest story in the SEC right now with Sam Pittman getting fired. They lost 56-13 to Notre Dame, 400-plus yards of offense in the first half for the Irish. It looked like they had just given up in that game, Arkansas, and sure enough, it played out that way in the second half. Sam Pittman gets canned yesterday. Drink a beer in his honor, please. Because here's the thing. I like Sam Pittman. I think he's a really fun guy. He was really fun as a head coach to have in the SEC. He had some personality to him. Kind of like a cool uncle type vibe, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it with Sam Pittman. Guy that you'd want to hang out with every weekend. And he's a terrific offensive line coach too. So it's not as if he's not going to have any luck finding a job elsewhere, or, SEC Network could come calling as well. I think he would do well there. But some guys just aren't cut out to be head coaches. And I think Sam Pittman, unfortunately, is one of them. So hate it that he is gone. Bobby Petrino will now be the head coach of the Razorbacks coming into Neyland Stadium. The last time he was the head coach of a team that came into Neyland Stadium, do you remember what happened, Jordan?
In Neyland Stadium?
Yes.
No, I'm thinking about that punt return, though, which was at Arkansas. That's the thing that came to my mind. I know you know what I'm talking about, where there's like 9 broken tackles.
Second game of the 2013 season, second game of Butch Jones's tenure at Tennessee. The Vols hosted Western Kentucky. 52-20 win for the Vols at home. Do you remember that game? They had like 5 turnovers in the beginning of it. That's why I remember it so well.
Okay, I forgot about that Western Kentucky game. Yeah. So he was the head coach at Western Kentucky during that time?
So he got canned from Arkansas because of the whole motorcycle thing, right? He ends up at Western Kentucky, and then he went to Louisville where he coached Lamar Jackson.
Dang, okay. I'm forgetting about some of this stuff. I mean, I guess my memories of him stopped with the neck brace.
Yeah, a lot of people's did. He was at Missouri State before he took an OC job at Texas A&M, I believe, which led him back to Arkansas to be an offensive coordinator.
What do you think the chances are of him becoming the next head coach?
There, honestly, if it's not him, it would be Rhett Lashley. I think those are the two that you have to talk about right now. If you are thinking about the next Arkansas head coaches, Austin says Sam on the SEC network would be awesome. I agree,
Yeah.
Austin. He would be very awesome on the SEC network. That's a guy that has a future in some form of sports media as an analyst. If he doesn't want to get back into coaching. But and I get it. Interims can inspire a team that's had their head coach fired, and maybe that's the case with Bobby Petrino because he's trying to coach his way back into an SEC coaching job, which maybe that ends up happening. We'll see. But you listen to the bigwigs at Arkansas right now, and you get a feel for how bad the situation really is. It's more akin to what happened at Tennessee in the years in which they were searching for a coach to replace Butch Jones, as opposed to just a normal coaching search. Because here's the deal. Hunter Yurachek, the AD, before like a couple weeks before he announced that Sam Pittman would no longer be the head coach at Arkansas, said verbatim, "We do not have the resources to be winning championships in the SEC right now." Today, in another press conference this afternoon, he said, we don't have the resources to compete at the highest level in the SEC. Sam did not have the highest level resources to compete in the SEC. That's a terrible look.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If Sam Pittman, if you're admitting that Sam did not have the best resources in the SEC and you fired him anyway, that's a terrible look on you, for one. Number two, I can think of at least 3 very, very wealthy families, 2 of which I know for a fact give money to Arkansas through large corporations and the Waltons and the Tysons, that they should not be struggling as much as they are. So knowing all this, I think that we have to it would be a mild disappointment if Tennessee did not at least score 35 in this game and win by 2+ touchdowns. That's how bad of a situation they are in right now.
And we've already talked about how Tennessee needs to win this game by a lot too. And I mean, especially more now without them having their head coach and after getting destroyed by Notre Dame as well. Yeah, I mean, admitting that publicly in press conferences is pretty wild because you're an SEC program and here you are without your head coach and you don't know who you're going to get yet. And what big name coach would want to come to play in Arkansas when you already openly admitted that you didn't even set up Sam Pittman for success? And on top of that, I mean, all the competition that's in the SEC as well. I mean, and Arkansas is not one of those historic programs either. I mean, they didn't join the SEC, I don't think, until like the mid 90s. Yeah, in the early 90s. They haven't even been around long enough to really become one of those powerhouse SEC programs. I don't know what they're going to do, but I know if I was a coach looking for a job, I mean, maybe if I'm from a smaller school, I take that risk because it could be my big opening. But I mean, like if you're talking about an already proven coach wanting to come to Arkansas, I mean, I feel like Bobby Petrino might be your only answer after having those press conference mishaps.
Well, Rhett Lashley too is another one I think you could lure in because he's an alum. And he's doing pretty well at SMU at the moment. Got them to a college football playoff, best team of the regular season in the ACC in 2024. Austin wants to know if Dan Mullen might get offered an SEC job this offseason. It's possible, but it would depend on the school. There's one school that's going to be looking for an SEC coach that will definitely not be hiring him. We know that. So you will not see him at Florida again anytime soon. That would leave Auburn and Kentucky as 2 places he could end up. And here's the thing, man. Kentucky, they don't have high expectations at Kentucky. They don't have high expectations at Mississippi State either. He was consistently winning 6, 7, 8 games at Mississippi State. You can do that at Kentucky, and those people will take you in. Just look at what's happened with Mark Stoops. You know, how has he locked himself into that job for 14 years now? Because he's been able to do all that stuff. And if you can do that, then they're going to keep you around for a long time. I don't think Auburn would give him a look just because, you know, that's a place where they expect a little bit more out of you. And then, of course, if Jeff Levy gets hired away by somebody, because Mississippi State is not a place you stay at forever. Hate to say that, but it's just the truth. Maybe Dan Mullen comes back to Starkville. You never know. I wonder how they feel about him after he ran off for Florida, but that remains to be seen if it ended up happening. So just real quick, looking at the polls here, not a ton to address there. You've got Oregon up to number 2 now with the win over Penn State. Penn State now 4-21 against ranked opponents under James Franklin, which is terrible. Alabama, you would figure, is way up. They're at 10 now. Georgia down to 12. Ole Miss has shot up to number 4 after their win over LSU. LSU now down to 13. I think Ole Miss could be very, very good. Yes, Tennessee is still at 15. They've been 15 for a month. Been hard to move out of that. And it stinks, man, because Mississippi State, I think, is good enough to be a ranked team, but they were not given that honor after beating Arizona State. There was just kind of this assumption that Arizona State might not be that good. But Arizona State may still be one of the best teams in the Big 12. They've beaten both TCU and Baylor the last couple weekends. So they could be looking at another very good season in the Big 12. Other news, Florida State way down to 18 after losing to Virginia, who did jump into the poll this week along with Arizona State. USC and TCU were the two to fall out of the poll this week. I guess the only SEC game we didn't mention was that Auburn-Texas A&M game. We did kind of allude to it earlier, though, that Auburn is going to be looking for a new head coach. Only 177 yards of offense. They had one touchdown drive in that game of 2 yards. So they're in trouble. They're in trouble down there on the Plains. Let's just put it that way. But that's all I've got on other happenings from this past weekend. So I think we need to now look at something that is very much in the future, but it's going to be a fun exercise for us because you get to talk about all the different teams that Tennessee is going to play in the next few years, over the next 4 seasons, I should say, in this upcoming revised 9-team SEC schedule. And there's some fun ones on there. There's some really, really fun games on there. They're all fun to me, honestly, because, you know, it's football and it's the SEC. How can you not enjoy that? But you saw the reveal for Tennessee's opponents for the next 2 seasons in SEC play. And they will flip-flop in 2028 and 29, so do keep that in mind. But in addition to the permanent opponents, Tennessee will have LSU, Auburn, and Texas, the game that Jordan and I spoke into existence.
Yes.
It's a Halloween game, but we might have spoken it into existence. All of those games are in Neyland Stadium. On the road in 2026, you have South Carolina, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. And then in 2027, you've got, Florida, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State coming to town, in addition to your other permanent opponent, Kentucky. Or no, that would be Vanderbilt that you get at home that year. My bad. And then in addition to Bama and Kentucky on the road in 27, you're at Georgia, Oklahoma, and Missouri. So I've seen a lot of people saying, you know, this is a brutal schedule. It's brutal for everybody. It's going to be brutal for everybody. I really think at this point that you are probably in an era now in which 12-0 teams don't exist anymore. Honestly, it's funny because the SEC has taken this approach and said you must play one other Power 4 or Notre Dame team each year, and yet the Big Ten is trying to flex its 9-game schedule, and they don't have that rule in place just yet, which is kind of a shame. And it just proves our point about the Big Ten too, man. Like that conference, we don't deny that the top of that conference is very good, but you get past those 3 or 4 teams and it's just like, ugh. Like there's just not a lot of good stuff in there. If these teams miss each other on the schedule, then you're guaranteeing them 11-1, 12-0 at least. But in the SEC, I don't think you see 12-0 teams, maybe even 11-1 teams as much anymore. It's going to be all about winning 10 to get in.
Yeah, I mean it's especially going to be hard with that extra out of conference game like you're talking about, or like the one where you have to play a Power 4 opponent or Notre Dame. I wish Notre Dame would just join a conference someday.
I think we all do.
I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of it. But man, like the schedule, you said that people online were saying it was brutal. I mean, I thought the opposite, or at least for next year. I mean, because we don't know how good Texas is going to be. I don't think they're that great of a team this year. Arkansas, I mean, they're going to be having a new football coach. South Carolina, who knows how they're going to be. A&M could be good. Auburn, I mean, I don't see them really doing too much either. I mean, I think this is a pretty favorable SEC schedule for Tennessee, at least for 2026. And that Texas game, man, I mean, this is something I've been waiting for since I was a kid, long before Texas joined the SEC. The Battle of the UTs. And if it really does happen on Halloween at night, man, it's going to be crazy. But you're going to have to get those tickets as soon as they release, because it's going to be quite expensive, I would imagine. Probably going to be the most expensive regular season game of the year, I would imagine.
The most confusing uniform matchup for little kids, Tennessee and Texas. And then on Halloween, you use orange out for the pumpkins, I guess. That too is going to be interesting to think about. You've got one shade of orange just all over the stadium, and then you've got another part of the stadium that's still orange. I don't know. Maybe they're going to wear white. Do you go black?
Even then?
Do you black out Neyland Stadium on Halloween for Texas if they were to play that game?
Well, maybe we could bring back that old idea that was floating around, the black and orange checkerboard. I think that I would like that for Halloween.
I don't know about the black and orange checkerboard.
For Halloween?
Do you black out Neyland Stadium? Do you white out Neyland Stadium? I think you have to go to some extreme with Texas.
If the game's on Halloween, I think you got to do the black and orange. But if it's not on Halloween, then I would like to see a whiteout and steal a little bit of Penn State's thunder.
Yeah. But I am very intrigued by all these games next year, naturally. And I still haven't even gotten a good look at who some of these other teams will be playing next season. But I look at Tennessee's schedule, and again, we don't know with Auburn. They could very well have a new coach. I think they probably will, but I could be wrong just because of the fact that they have so many players who are there because of that coach that are 5-star plus recruits. And if he goes, they all go. It would feel like. LSU's going to have a new quarterback for one, so that's going to change things. And
it'll be kneeling.
Yeah, and I could very much see that being a Brian Kelly deer in headlights type moment. Should Tennessee get up early in that game? Who am I missing? Obviously Texas. Arkansas with a new football coach. We'll see. But that one will be tough just because Arkansas is like Florida light for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Is kind of what it feels like. And then you've got South Carolina on the road. I think South Carolina's deal is they just do well in the even years under Shane Beamer, and the odd years they're just not as good. Maybe. I could be very wrong about that because they went from 6 wins in a regular season in 21 to 8 in 22. They go to 5 in 23 to 9 in 24. Which, if we wanted to push the extremes, that would put them down at 4 and 8 this year. I don't know if that's how that works exactly, but maybe. We'll see what happens with Shane Beamer. It's a very weird operation over there in South Carolina. We've talked about their style of football a lot. It's not for everybody, I guess you could say. And then A&M on the road. That's a game that I am really excited about. Getting to go out to A&M again. You'll be going against Marcel Reed in all likelihood, the NBA product out there for the Aggies. Always a cool environment to see on TV. I know we make fun of them a little bit because they have all these weird traditions that make no sense. But no, I'm not joking when I say that would be a really cool environment. I know when Tennessee went out there in 2016, it was very cool, even though they lost.
Yeah, and that game, that one in 2016, that was when Tennessee was undefeated up until that point, weren't they? I remember that.
Mhm.
I remember that game, man, like giving me like really bad like heart problems. It was stressing me out so much. Like we were like staying in a hotel at Kentucky during that time, and I was like with my mom in there, and I was like, feel my heart. This is how much the game's messing me up, and my heart was like going like spazzing out. My mom's like, you need to sit down and chill out. I was like, I can't. I haven't sat down in the past 30 minutes because this game is just stressing the daylights out of me. But yeah, it would be nice to I mean, I want to go to that game if I could make it happen. The Texas A&M game next year, because I mean, I think Kyle Field is one of the most beautiful stadiums in the SEC, and I mean, that would be another one to check off my list of stadiums that I haven't seen yet. But it'd be nice for Tennessee to get back after that game, because that broke my heart, and I actually had a bet on that game with a particular player that plays in the NFL now.
Oh, that's your steak dinner bet.
Yes. Okay. So what happened with that was he guaranteed me his freshman season that he would get 10 tackles against Tennessee. And I was like, there's no shot that you're going to get 10 tackles against Tennessee as a freshman in the SEC. He got one that was on Josh Dobbs, and he was like holding on for dear life to tackle him. But I won that bet with a certain Texas A&M graduate, or not graduate, but
yeah, he is
player.
a graduate.
He did graduate.
I discussed that with him last week. We'll see if he lives up to it. But no, he's a very nice guy.
Oh yeah, great
very,
leader too. I mean, he was awesome.
Very kind individual. But yes, those are all of your SEC football games in 2026. Again, really looking forward to this. Really looking forward to all of these. I was kind of hoping that Tennessee would get Mizzou at home in one of these next 2 years, just because you kind of got done dirty out there the last time. They're gloating about a win over what was an 8-win Tennessee team, but really, if that was coached by anybody other than Josh Heupel, they're probably a 5 or 6 win team. In all honesty, they weren't that good that year. They just happened to be coached by somebody who could get them to that level. So a little saddened by that, but outside of that, you get Florida at home. Ole Miss at home should be fun. Should Lane Kiffin still be there? We'll see if
a lot of redemption games on these schedule.
Yeah. I'm that part excites me a lot about what's ahead for Tennessee. All right, so one more order of business before we get out of here, and I know it's bye week, so we don't actually have a game to go over for you, but I want to reflect a little bit. Bye weeks, I should say, are good times to reflect over what's happened in the previous portions of the season or stretch that you've played between byes in the case of this season. But we've seen a lot so far, and we've learned a lot about this team, I think, especially having seen Tennessee play 2 SEC games already. So I have some things that stuck out to me just as I was thinking today as I was getting ready for the show. And Jordan, you feel free to add some more in here because I'm sure you've got some input as well. But my thoughts during the bye week, we said it once, we'll say it a million times over. Tennessee won the Nico and Joey trade. There is no doubt in my mind about that.
Pretty one-sided too.
Very one-sided, and because here's the thing: usually you see media members who make outrageous takes about any school. Tennessee has been a part of that too, especially during some of those coaching searches. Usually they double down on their ridiculous takes. But Urban Meyer, who verbatim said Tennessee is screwed after they got rid of Nico, he said, I was very wrong. They absolutely fleeced UCLA. And we're grateful for it, very grateful for it. Joey has been, and you look at the other stuff too, the family stuff in particular. That's a guy that is very, very grateful to be in the position that he's in, and that's something you did not have with the previous quarterback's family. I'm not so sure about Nico himself, but the family, for sure, not grateful to be there.
Well, you just made me think about something that I have not thought about before, and it's a little bit a little bit of a conspiracy theory, but I wonder if the University of Tennessee is posting a lot more of Aguilar's family because of the whole situation with Nico's family. And I had not had that thought until right now. But that
No,
could,
you're right about that, Jordan. That could be. I don't know if it's conspiratorial or not, but I think you're right about that because maybe there were just some goings on that we didn't know. There always are. But no, I think you got a point there. They're clearly grateful to be in the spot that they're in because Joey didn't know he'd be doing this 5-6 years ago. He was just going to go live a normal college student life,
be a firefighter
like the rest of us. Yeah, be a firefighter. So, but no, you may be right about that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting for sure. I mean, because the whole rumors in the offseason was that Nico's dad was putting a lot of input on what should or should not be happening with Tennessee. And, they would show him during games, don't get me wrong. But I mean, Joey Aguilar's mother and grandmother are posted everywhere on social media every time Tennessee plays. And I saw a quote from his dad recently too, which I don't know what his situation is because I haven't seen a picture of him or anything at the games, but I know there was a quote of him, I think maybe discussing the Nico trade or whatever. But it's just, you don't I haven't really seen this from Hendon Hooker's parents or Joe Milton's family or anything like that. But here we are having Joey Aguilar's family shown a lot, which they do seem like great people and everything. Yeah. And I feel like that's why Tennessee might be pushing it as well, because they're so grateful and they're like, hey, look, I have over here a quarterback that's leading the SEC in passing yards, and his family's all grateful. And then on the other side, you got an 0-4 player where the parents, his dad's reportedly the one that caused the whole debacle to begin with. So, I mean, it's pretty funny if Tennessee's actually doing that.
We know he's the one. We know he's the one that caused all those problems. And not to say that the other families weren't grateful. Like the Hooker family, I know was very grateful to be at Tennessee. They seem like very high-class individuals, and same thing with the Miltons too. I think to a little bit of a lesser extent. Ruth met Nico's family. I'm now intrigued by this. Would be intrigued.
I was there.
Would be intrigued by an off-air conversation about this.
I was there for that. I can tell you about that.
Oh dear. Some very disingenuous people, I think, that you were talking to, Ruth. Some other takeaways that I have, because we can talk all day about the Nico and Joey thing, and that will be one of the big memories that we have from 2025 as a whole, looking back at it. Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas need to be your guys running the ball going forward, because Peyton Lewis, while I think he has shown signs of improvement, is just not quite with those two guys right now. Star Thomas was not nearly as good against Mississippi State as he was in the previous 4 games, but I think that it's okay when you got a guy like Deshaun Bishop who's already proven that he can be effective as a starter. And sure enough, you saw it in this game at different points. Like I was talking about earlier, you take out the 25-yard run, he's still having 6 to 10-yard runs on first downs as well, which is something you like to see. And I don't know why they weren't giving him the ball more in that game, but those are your two guys, I think, is the best way to put it. My takeaway for the running backs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear cut. I mean, Star Thomas has been impressing me this entire season because, I didn't know too much about him when he was coming out at Duke. Like, I saw a couple of his highlights, noticed that he was able to make a couple of catches, or he was efficient at catching the ball, which was one of my complaints with Dylan Sampson when he played, although there's not much to complain about with him. But yeah, I mean, Star Thomas is, I think, the best running back on Tennessee's team, but it's very close. Deshaun Bishop's really good as well. I mean, like, you really can't go wrong with either guy. And I like that Tennessee can just like keep one of the guys, keep giving the ball to one of them whenever they're hot, and just keep that train rolling because they're both really good running backs. But yeah, Peyton Hillis. I mean, I mean, not Peyton Hillis, Peyton Lewis. Peyton Lewis. I wasn't a huge fan of him last season, and I think that he has stepped up this year. I mean, I've seen more like last season. It seemed like he would only get like 3 yards per carry, and I've seen a couple more longer runs from him this season. But yeah, I think it's pretty clear cut that Star Thomas and Deshaun Bishop are your guys if you're Tennessee.
Take number 3 for me. We need to start having conversations about Chris Brazel as a Biletnikoff Award winner.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously some of this is statistics based, but he is the best receiver on this team in terms of sure-handedness. We saw it this week. No real notable drops from him in this game, unlike the other 2 wide receivers, which it's okay. They did other things to help themselves out as the game went on, but right now he's tied for the most receiving touchdowns in the country with Jordan Tyson at 7, which is a pretty impressive mark. And this is a guy that we didn't quite know what to expect out of this year. We were hoping that he would end up having a much better season than he did last year, and here we are. He is on pace to do great things for Tennessee this year.
Yeah, I mean, if he keeps at the level that he's been at right now, I mean, he's on pace for 17 touchdowns in the season, which I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that would be the record for most receiving touchdowns in a season at Tennessee. But I mean, and that would be 2 more than what Jalen Hyatt had as well. And I mean, I feel like at this point in the season, I mean, of course, like, yes, we should have him in the conversation for the Biletnikoff. I mean, based on what he's been to Tennessee so far. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear cut that he's the best receiver on the team, and it's not even close. Whereas when Jalen Hyatt was there, I mean, he did end up winning the award, and I thought that he had a great season. I thought that there was less separation between him and Cedric Tillman than there is with like Brazel and like Mike Matthews or Staley. I mean, I think he's going to continue to get better throughout the season. And I mean, he might end up becoming a 1st-round draft pick, which I think if he gets drafted, maybe Tennessee needs him and one other player going in the 1st round. But I think if they get one more receiver in the 1st round of the draft and Ohio State doesn't, then they would be tied for most wide receivers taken in the 1st round of the NFL draft.
Yeah. And to your point about Jalen Hyatt, I think some of that was probably injury related with Cedric Tillman going down for most of the season in that Akron game. We'll never schedule Akron again. Never going to be scheduling Akron again after that game. But Brazel clearly ahead of the rest of the pack on this team. You do need to fix your drops and some of the misfires. Again, I think some of that was probably game flow from last week. Just Joey Aguilar not being able to get into a rhythm because and I didn't do the math on how long of periods he was not on the field, but he was not on the field for a few pretty continuous stretches with the defensive touchdowns. So again, some of that's game flow, but also UAB and Georgia, both you had periods where you had some drops, and you got to fix that. You got to fix those. You got to fix the misfires, because I'm not saying the interceptions have been on Joey, but you put balls in places where you can get yourself in precarious situations, then they start to become on you a little bit more. I think we can agree on that. And then one other thing that really sticks out to me about the offense right now, Kelsey Pope and Glenn Ellerbe have done a lot to win back the faith of this fan base, I think. Because Kelsey Pope, the last 2 years, people have been critical of him just because the receivers have been underwhelming. Not the case this year. They look back to form. You shed a lot of dead weight from last season outside of maybe Dante Thornton. I hate to say it about Brew McCoy, but the injuries, man, they just got to him. And then Squirrel White just did not look like himself either. And then, the other guys too, like Nimrod and Webb, that ended up taking off. But no, this group looks much better, and he produced a Biletnikoff Award winner in just 1 year in Jalen Hyatt, which is impressive stuff. And then Glenn Ellerbe, there were questions about whether or not this guy can develop talent that he's recruited or gotten out of the portal, for that matter. And he's done that this year. You've had somewhat of a patchwork offensive line with Jesse Perry and Sham Umarov getting playing time in the absence of David Sanders, who, of course, did play this past week, did all right for himself in the limited snaps he got. But throwing two guys out there in Jesse Perry and Sham Umarov, who have not gotten quality reps in the past, and having them do just a good enough job on the offensive line in and of itself, I think is pretty impressive stuff. And that's without having any other guys that are Jeremy Pruitt holdovers on this team. So I think those two dudes, they've earned some respect this year.
Yeah, I mean, and if Brazel wins a Biletnikoff, like how many coaches can say that they've coached two Biletnikoff award winners? I mean, I'm sure maybe is he wide receiver coach at Ohio State?
I don't know if he's a receiver coach or offensive coordinator now. I forget.
Okay, and I don't know how many Biletnikoffs they've won in recent memory, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind is maybe him with Ohio State. But I mean, as much crap as Pope's gotten over the past couple seasons, I mean, like I can't really think of another coach that's been able to do that, or at least not off the top of my head. And as far as the offensive line goes, I mean, it's hard to say because Chris Brazel's been so dominant. And of course, like you're always going to look at the skill position players. I mean, I would argue if it's not Chris Brazel, then the offensive line's been the MVP for Tennessee's offense this season. I mean, they've only given up 14 tackles for a loss. And let's see here. I think, 4 sacks the entire season, which last year Tennessee gave up 30 sacks. So, I mean, they're on pace to keep doing great from offensive line standpoint. And that's how you win games too. I mean, you got to give the quarterback protection. You got to be able to run the football. And I think Tennessee's got a really good offensive line unit this year. And I think they have potential to get even better with David Sanders, which makes me just grin ear to ear.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something that you always want to be good at is your offensive line. And you've got that this year with this group. They look significantly more in sync with each other, I think, than what you saw last year. And again, some of what happened last year is injury related, but I think most of it is probably Nico related. Just with some of the struggles they had at times. So that's what I've got on the offense through the first few weeks. Defensively, I really do think they are just 2 or 3 guys getting healthy away from being really good again, because I don't know if we mentioned it earlier in the show, but David Hobbs is looking like he's going to be back next week for Arkansas, just based on what he's put out on social media, which is a good sign. And then Jermon McCoy also sounding like he might be back for Arkansas. So good news on both of those fronts. And again, you did a lot of good things last week, despite having a little bit of a rough go for the previous couple weeks, I should say. So you're not far on defense at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the issues with defense have been injury related. I mean, defensive tackles dropping down like flies. McCoy, who was supposed to be the best player arguably on the team, has been out and hasn't even played in the game yet. I mean, I think once ever he gets back into the roster or gets back healthy, as long as he can stay that way, and as long as there's not too much, or he doesn't have to get in shape or anything like that too much. I mean, I know he's been rehabbing the entire offseason, but whenever he gets back to swinging, I mean, I think Tennessee's going to pick things up. But what they've been best at is pass rushing so far, and they're number 8th in the country right now for tackles for loss. And I mean, they did really good with the pass rush against Penn State. I mean, the defensive line's been really good in that regard. Tennessee's needs to get a little bit better at the passing game or defending the pass, but I mean, I think that's something that is just injury related. Like I said, I mean, missing Gibson is going to hurt. Missing McCoy hurts. But you get McCoy healthy again, and Tennessee could have a dangerous defense. But right now, they're not even top 50 in total defense right now. So that's something that they'll need to shapen up as the season goes by.
Yeah. And I do wonder how much of that is coaching and scheming. Is Tim Banks not bringing the heat enough on
Well, the
defense?
offense too, I think, plays a factor into with Tennessee scoring quick and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
your defense is going to be on the field more, so those numbers could be skewed a little bit.
Yeah. Although they did look a little bit better this time around, just with what they were able to do in the pass rush. Mississippi State kept them out of the backfield on some occasions, but I think run defense in particular is something that you got to work on. And um, your corners and your linebackers, just with all the arm tackles, it's frustrating. And you're going to see some other teams that have quality run games this season. Even Kentucky's running the ball decently right now, so keep your eyes on that as we go forward. And another thing too with coaching on defense, I think, and I don't say this to be rude, but I think Tim Banks might have coached his way out of any potential group of 5 low end power 4 job openings for the moment. Um, and the reason I wonder about that is because of another coach on this defensive staff, and William Inge, because that guy is a good enough of a defensive mind to go and coach defense as a defensive coordinator somewhere else in the SEC if he really wanted to. And if you lose him, you could very well lose some linebacker recruits as well. I'm not saying that because I want Tim Banks to go. I would like to see William Inge within the program as long as you can, just because I mean, we're seeing it a little bit on special teams right now. I wonder how much Mike Eckler being gone has hurt this year. No offense to Evan Crabtree. I mean, he's a young guy, so he can, grow into the game a little bit here. But, you just wonder with that a little bit. Like, if you lose William Inge, does your linebacker play plummet all of a sudden?
Yeah, I mean, I sure hope that Tennessee doesn't lose Inge. I mean, especially with some of the recruits that are coming in next year, like Braden Rouse and company. Like Tennessee's got some good players that we're gonna see in the next couple of years, and I would not want to see the recruiting class get destroyed over a coach leaving. But I think it's interesting with Tim Banks is because like 1 week everyone loves him. Everyone's talking about he needs a new coaching job or he needs to become a head coach somewhere, da da da. And then like next week, everyone wants his head, and it seems like it's rinse and repeat all the time with Tim Banks. But I don't really have an opinion too much on it. I mean, I think Tennessee can still improve defensively. So I mean, I think that I like Tim Banks at Tennessee right now. I mean, I could change my mind, but I think right now, Tennessee, I think that they'll end up being just fine the way that they are.
All right, one more thing that came to mind before we go, and I don't like bringing this stuff up because it's not my style to call for anyone's job unless they are absolutely doing terrible at it. And as we have mentioned over the course of this show, and then again in our post game show on Saturday, winning fixes everything. But Josh Heupel has just become more conservative over these last couple seasons, it feels like, in big game situations. You look at Arkansas last year, I think some of that had to do with Nico. You're not confident in your quarterback, and you don't want to, take some risks late in the fourth quarter. I get that to an extent. I don't know if the Alabama game in 2023 has traumatized him or what, but I just feel like we are so far away from the guy that beat Alabama 3 years ago from a coaching standpoint. I think just because you look at how the end of game or end of regulation sequence looked at the end of this week compared to that Alabama game in 2022. You hit on a couple passes and you get into field goal range and you kick that field goal. Josh Heupel had multiple timeouts at his disposal. He could have won the game in regulation 37-34 if he really wanted to. But they just bled all that clock. Like I haven't understood the clock management in this game or the Georgia game this year. And I'm going to say it again. I'm a broken record. Winning fixes everything. But if you get to a point where suddenly you are not winning some of these games that you should be winning, like you lose like 3 of 4 games in a row, or not in a row, but just like 3 out of a series of 4 games, and suddenly people are starting to question you because you've mismanaged the clock in close games. Assuming those are all close games, if that happens, it's a habit that is beginning to concern me a little bit. And again, as long as he's winning, people are going to stay happy. But the moment you start to trend downward and that stuff keeps happening, people will not be happy. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the clock management situation went with the Mississippi State game, I'm with you 100% on that. Like, I'm still trying to understand what he was trying to achieve with that. And I was texting my dad about that during the game as well. I mean, 25 seconds they burnt off on one of those plays when they're trying to be put in a position to score, or at least get in the field goal range. And then they get to the 50-yard line. They do one like run up the middle. And then like, I don't know. I just couldn't understand what they were doing because like you mentioned, like with that Alabama game where Tennessee ended up winning. I mean, they got a couple passes downfield. Brew McCoy caught that pass and then they hit that field goal and everything works out fine. But I mean, I've seen the pattern too with Josh Heupel, and I wish I had some more examples. I'm losing a little bit of brain power right now, but I mean, there were several times over the past couple of seasons where Josh Heupel could have taken a risk and it probably would have paid off for him, but he decided to do the safest thing, which can be okay at times. But I mean, there's sometimes you got to take those risks to win the games. Like sometimes you got to make that pass before halftime to catch them off guard and try to score right there. Or you got to, keep throwing downfield so you can get in the field goal range. Like I can understand maybe if he didn't trust Max Gilbert to make the kick, but I mean, even then you still got to try it. At least you still got to move down the field and try it. Like the only thing that I could think of with the Mississippi State game, it doesn't sound like a good coaching strategy to me, but maybe he thought that he could win off some crazy game-winning Hail Mary. But on that play too, if I'm not mistaken, Tennessee almost threw an interception, didn't they? That could have been returned for a touchdown, and then they would have lost the game.
Yeah. And look, here's the thing: it's a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type thing, right? If the risk doesn't work out for you, it stinks. But hey, at least you tried. I'm not saying Tennessee is playing with nothing to lose like another team in Tennessee in the NFL is right now. But you, at the very least, you can, make your fans at least feel good. It's a little bit more of an honorable defeat than just kind of turtling. You don't want that. And again, you mentioned the Hail Mary attempt that was well short of the end zone. Man, they absolutely could have picked that ball off. And if they did, Twitter would have been an absolute hellscape that night for Tennessee. Let's just call it like it is. It would have been terrible. So, again, you win the game, and it's okay. It's okay. But you do some of these other things, these little mistakes that you make during the game. If they continue to happen, you're going to upset some people. Tampa Vol here has listed some of the clock management malpractices from Josh Heupel for us. We mentioned that the Arkansas one already. Florida, yes, almost let that one get away. I don't know if that's clock management as much as that is just not having not being able to get that fourth down, and then ultimately you don't recover the onside kick. I don't know if that's clock management or not. Bama 2023, I don't think is clock management. That's just not coming out at halftime. And then Florida, you could have. I don't think they had timeouts in that left in that scenario, but you could have at least made some plays down the field there. If you really wanted to. I don't think Florida was in a situation where they were going to run back a pick six or anything or get themselves into field goal range because there was too little time on the clock. But no, I do agree with Florida in 2024. That at least makes sense. Posty says it felt like the ball was in the air for 30 minutes. Yes, it was in the air for 30 minutes against Florida, if that's what you're referring to. This one was in the air for a long time. So yeah. Tampa Vol, but fair enough. Letting foot off the gas. That's exactly what happened against both Florida in 2022 and then Bama in 2023
and Georgia a lot of the times too. I mean, there's been several cases where Tennessee has been up on like teams and then have letting them come back in. I mean, like Tennessee. Yeah. I mean, they end up winning the game in 2022 with Florida, but I mean, like. I don't know. Like it's concerning at times when Tennessee can get up like 21 points on a team and then still somehow allow them to get back in the game.
No, I think Georgia this year, you'd be right about that. I don't know about some of the other Georgia games though. Like, yes, I get it. You scored early touchdowns
scoring
in the game,
quick,
but I don't know if that's letting your foot off the gas or if Georgia is just, very upset that they gave up that early touchdown. Like, for example, 2022 and 2023 Georgia, like 23 in particular, Tennessee was not winning that game. Let's just call it like it was. They were okay that season. Georgia was trying to get back to a college football playoff, potentially three-peat as national champion, and they weren't able to do it. So that's kind of what I got there on Georgia. The only other time that I could think of that they might have done that versus Georgia was 19, but again, Jeremy Pruitt, man, Tennessee was never winning that game. So I think you do have to correct some of these things at some point, because if you find yourself in a close game this year, in a game that you shouldn't lose, and I'm now really struggling to figure out what that game would be other than Florida, because this weekend had all the makings of it at Mississippi State. It didn't happen. Bama, I don't think you look at it like that anymore, unless Bama loses its next two games, in which case you feel optimistic about potentially going down there and getting a win. It can't happen at Kentucky.
No.
His history,
that's the worst scenario.
History and just the strength of this Kentucky team say it cannot happen this year.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, if Tennessee could win one game the entire year, and that one game should be Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, the Oklahoma game could be concerning if Mateer like fully recovers.
Yeah.
But I mean, Oklahoma's probably going to be favored in that game.
You sure? If it's in Neyland, I don't know.
Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I just know that Oklahoma, I mean, I feel like a lot of the voters would give them the upper hand. But I also got battered ball syndrome.
A lot of us do. All right. Well, that's about all I had for tonight, Jordan. I think we've about run out of gas here. We've gone almost an hour and a half. We've overstayed our welcome a little bit, but did want to reflect a little bit on what we've seen in the past 5 weeks. And I kind of hate to play a little bit of devil's advocate and end the show on a little bit of a bummer note, but that's just something that's running through my brain because we've seen it twice this year already. And we got to be a little bit wary of it. So I think we covered all the bases tonight. And enjoy the college football weekend this weekend because it's stress free. You got I believe 5 games in which SEC teams are playing against each other. I could have been totally off on that number, but it's okay. You'll get to watch stress-free football on the couch, which is fun, awfully fun.
Yeah, there's one more thing I wanted to say before we wrap everything up on here is, man, I surely hope that when we get the new Adidas jerseys, that they're not going to be a pilot patch on them.
Oh yeah.
I don't really like that idea with the like brands being put on to the uniforms. I really don't like that at all. I feel like it looks tacky. I don't like it when the NBA's done it. I don't like it when the soccer teams have done it. I just really don't. I don't want that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, that'll do it for us tonight on Tennessee Volunteers Live. Appreciate all of you guys for joining us and interacting with us during this bye-week edition of the show. We always appreciate you guys coming out and supporting us. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football. Again, we are live every Monday at 8 Eastern Time. We'll be live again next Monday. Obviously, no post-game show this week because it's a bye week. For Jordan Binkley, I am Tucker Harlan. We will see you guys again next week.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.